Happy Turkey Day. As you can see, I am lavishly bumming. Just my rest day today, I've been extremely sore. But I wanted to talk about something. I've been coming across a lot of various social issues. I'll make a video on child trafficking and the implications of that. But what I wanted to talk about today is this paradigm of women's right and women's education and women's gender. Now, I come from a very conservative Islamic family where, for most of the time, I still attend segregated weddings. I really don't go to weddings that are not segregated. You might call me a mullah, but that's just how I was raised, and that's how I was nurtured. But to my point, I think there's been a lot of speculation about this, and I think to a certain right or to a certain extent, there's a lot of wrong and misinformation that I wanted to clarify. So one of the most controversial elements that I don't agree with is Saudi women not driving, and I watched Mona Sheikh's rant on that. If you don't know who Mona Sheikh is, I'll put the link below. But I think in this patriarchal society of Saudi men has just been completely demonized. I chuckle at Saudi men. I'm not trying to stereotype at it whatsoever. I have other friends, but I think this whole concept of giving women the ability to drive somehow allows them to be more sexual is completely stupid. In a society where Arabs have a lot of wives, they drink. As a matter of fact, UAE, or I think United Arab Emirates, was the first airline to put a full-fledged drinking bar on their airplanes. When I look at stuff like that, it just makes me chuckle because Islam becomes patriarchal for them, right? Islam becomes, I will pick and choose what I want to do, and I will just suppress women, and that was never the issue. As a matter of fact, women were the first gender to give rights, voting rights in Islam, but that's never been covered because it's been covered by patriarchal society. If you look at the history of Khadija, she was a 40-year-old divorcee who was an entrepreneur, probably one of the earliest entrepreneurs in a time where women had no rights. So you could see that what modern Saudi culture or political entails is completely a different clash than what the Islamic history and tradition has given women. So I think what happens is this Muslim men, they get egoistic and they try to abuse rights because they're like, well, women are supposed to cover themselves, and these same men are drinking, the same men are committing zina left to right, not with even women, homosexuality zina, abusing little kids, which is shocking. And this happens not only in Saudi Arabia, but it happens in Pakistan. I was watching a documentary called Pakistan's Worst Shame, and this is what I want to relate to, and I'll probably make a separate video on that. But it was shocking to see that men have this perception of women as like they're not, they're so hard to please and they're so shy and they're so intimidating, whereas they're fine with young men and having sexual relationships with young boys because they're so widely available. And these are these are shocking elements. They're never actually present in any religion. And to make matters worse, I think patriarchal men take religion and they abuse it. And I wanted to point that out, that before you look at a issue or before you look at a controversy, understand that the religion does not prohibit that. A lot of feminists always are first one to point out about how women are are suppressed in religion. They're not. They're suppressed by tradition and patriarchal culture. Always remember that. Yes, to a certain context, women have been an inferior race, but that does not mean that religion has upheld that. It never has. There's been equal rights in Islam for man and woman. Divorce is a great example. In many times when before the advent of Islam, the Quraysh men, they used to have illicit relationships with the woman, and when the woman was ready to give birth, they used to divorce her. Islam came and said, no, you cannot do that. Islam also forbidded the culture of burying your female youngborns alive, because back in the time of Quraysh and the Umayyads, women were inferior race. If you had a daughter as an offspring, what can she really do? She cannot help you in crops. Do you have to understand that you might think from your finite mindset that religion suppresses women, but in actuality, it's the tradition and the patriarchal society. The men, the men that oppress this or suppress or abuse women are the same men that are doing a lot of haram behind the common scenes that you are not aware of. And the reason I pointed the Saudi issue is because, I mean, come on, we live in the 21st century. If I have a wife and my child is sick, right? You expect me to run from my work? What if I can't make that on time? This is where logic comes. This is where I talked about this on my other videos. This is where aql comes, and religion does not suppress aql. This is logic, right? if in case of CPR, in case of issue, there has been permission. If a woman is dying and a man is supposed to give her CPR, he has every right to, in a very segregated religion. So keep in mind the people that make these rules, that create our rules, are just selfish patriarchal people that want to abuse their power. It is nothing to do with religion. And in this society, people are so misconstrued because their main research is internet or Google or something like that, or Wikipedia, and they don't do their due diligence. So before you make these assumptions that this is a a link of Islam or Islam is to blame, it really is not. And I have always advocated that, even as a liberal Muslim that I am today, that, or as a moderate one, I would say that don't don't judge the book by its cover. If you think Saudi Arabia is the hallmark of Islam, it really is not. There's a lot of things that are going on in Saudi Arabia that you have no idea about. They do a lot of haram stuff. Just because Islam was born there doesn't mean that Islam has flourished under there. I can say the same thing about Pakistan, where I'm from. Pakistan is a very secular state. Just because you see a mullah with a big beard doesn't mean that he's not abusing little boys. People pick and choose religion based on their own desires, and that's the problem why religion cannot flourish in modern society. It's because we tend to do it out of our human desire. We tend to pick and choose what we want to follow, and we don't. But don't blame the religion, and that goes from Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, and any other religion. Most of the time, the logic behind it is completely, it's pretty, it's pretty stable. It's us that pick and choose, and then if things don't go right, we, as human nature entails, we blame the religion, and we don't blame our own society. Keep that in mind next time you come across a social issue, and look at the paradigms and compare why religious circumstances entail that, and what we have evaded or what we have gone away from, which has created these social issues in our modern society. Thank you for watching.